Hey folks, Darth Caboose back here with turn 3 of our Let's Play Labyrinth, The War on Terror. And this, of course, is the solo game. So, uh, coming after the heels of turn 2, we had dealt all of the cards necessary, and we are ready to begin. Okay, so let's go ahead and start off with the Jihadist card. And their first card is going to be Iraqi WMD. Play if the U.S. is hard and Iraq adversary. Okay, so this is a playable U.S. event because the U.S. is hard on the war on terror, and Iraq is considered an adversary because they are at that spot over there. So this card is playable. Consequently, if we follow the player aid flowchart, we can see that this will be a card that is plotted with. So we have 3 ops to plot with. This card is discarded and not used because US events are never triggered by the Jihadist player. So we'll go ahead and follow the flowchart for plot to figure out where the plots will occur. Okay, so as much as possible in the US, that is not the case because there are no cells in the US. Then is prestige low? No, prestige is actually high. So we consult that. Is Abu Sayyaf an effect and cells? Okay, nope. It is an effect, but there are no cells there because we were smart and removed the cells from the Philippines. Next up is, okay, then in countries with troops. And there is exactly one country that has a cell that has troops, and that is the Gulf states. So this cell is not going to run away. He's going to go active and attempt to plot in the Gulf states. Now this guy needs a 1 to succeed. We'll go ahead and roll, and he comes out with a 6. Oh, the lag there was a bit of a tease as to whether it would come out as a 1 or not. So he fails. So that was one of our 3 ops. We have 2 remaining. The next up is the GWAT penalty greater than 0. No, the GWAT penalty is 0 because the world is hard and we are hard against the war on terror. So we will then plot in countries with the US's posture. Now, there's quite a few options here. I can see 4 on the map right now. There's Benelux, Eastern Europe, Israel, and India. So the remaining plots will occur there. So just to make things easy, I'm going to assign I'm going to do 2 die rolls to determine each one. We'll do a 1, 2, 3, 4 appropriately to figure out where the plots will occur. And if I get a 5 or 6, I'll just keep rolling. So 3, okay, so 1 plot's going to happen in Israel, and then, we can stick with our numbered scheme of 1, 2, 4. 3 again, 3 again, 1. Okay, so we'll have Benelux and Israel have plots occur. So I'm just going to roll 2 die, and I'll have Benelux be the first one and Israel be the second one. Okay, so they both, it's a 5 and a 4, so they both failed, so no plots are placed. This is, it's nice to have this sort of thing happen because it's unlikely. It's a 16 to 1/6 chance of plots being placed in these countries. I mean, you still have to kind of worry about them because when plots are placed, you have to spend 3 ops to alert the plot. But otherwise, this is a great way of sort of wasting the time of the jihadist player. Okay, so moving on to their second card, we have Special Forces, which is a playable U.S. event because is there a cell in or adjacent to country troops? Yes, the Gulf states has that criteria met, so this will be used to plot. And again, following the plot flowchart, the very first instance we ran into was plotting in countries with troops, which was the Gulf states. So once again, we'll roll a die. Oop, very close, he gets a 2, but that's not a 1, so no problems there. Okay, so that was the 2 jihadist cards, and now we are up to the US phase. So we're going to go ahead, flip these cards. Let me just make sure the screen looks pretty good. Just always gotta double check these things. Okay, oof, this looks a little bit shabby. What do we have here? We have, wow. Wahhabism is something we have to be concerned about because the jihadist funding is actually not at maximum, and that would give them more funding, so that's a bit concerning. Jihadist videos would allow them to place more cells on the board, but since they don't have any, it would place cadres instead, and I'm quite fine playing that early while they don't have any cells to place. HEU is something we can also safely play because that requires a cell to be in Russia or Central Asia, of which none of these are the case. Martyrdom, Operation, and Wahhabism are the big key ones. Oh, Kazakhstan is also a nice, safe card to play. Okay, so what shall we do here? Well, I would like to disrupt once in the Gulf states, because that would get us 2+2 prestige, which would be very good. And so I may just do that. Unfortunately, the order of events here is going to be a little off, because I would like to disrupt first and then play a 3 ops card. Okay, let's go ahead and play Kazakhstan for 2. And I'm going to perform a disrupt. Event doesn't happen because it doesn't meet the requirements. And I will perform a disrupt in the Gulf states. And so that guy is gone, replaced with a cadre marker, and that gets us a prestige, bumping us up to the very, very nice +2 on the War of Ideas. And we should proceed to perform War of Ideas ASAP. Yeah, let's go ahead and play... See, this is kind of why I wanted to play this first, but I wanted to get the plus modifier first, so that's why I was a bit off in the ordering. Jihadist videos. Okay, let's do it. So let's have the event fire first. Okay, so this is a little bit more rolly for this one, rolling of die for this one. So select 3 countries without cells, test them, recruit once in each, ignoring funding, and then place a cadre in each country that does not receive a cell. So let's go ahead and do that. And the way I like to do this is to consult the flow chart, the what is it called? The global chart for this one. It says random among possibilities, but basically the only restriction is countries that don't have cells. So what I like to do is I just like to keep rolling the global black and tan die until I get a country that doesn't have a cell, and just use that. So let's go ahead and do it. So we get a 2 and a 6 that corresponds to Israel. Israel has a cell, so we'll do it again. We get a 6 and a 1 that corresponds to Central Asia. Ooh, it's a bit scary. So we'll go ahead and test the country first. And the country is a poor, and now we'll roll a die, and they get a 6. 6 means they don't succeed, so we place a cadre marker there. Okay, so that's the first of 3. Let's go ahead and keep rolling. So we get a 6 and a 1, that is Central Asia. I mean, I guess we could technically... No, I think it has to be different countries, because you couldn't necessarily pick the same country 3 times. Select 3 countries without cells. Yeah, I can't pick Central Asia, so we'll keep going. Wow, okay. 6 and 2, that's going to be Indonesia. So we will test Indonesia, and Indonesia is going to be a fair. That's good. And we roll to see for the recruit, and they get a 4. 4 means it fails because they need to get 2 or less, so they get a cadre there. And then next up is going to be a 3 and a 5. That is going to be Thailand. Thailand is going to get a roll. Let's roll for the cell first. They get a 6, so no success there. And that gets a cadre marker. And because a country was targeted, we have to test it. We'll go ahead and roll for its posture, and they get a 1, which means they go to soft. Let's just do a quick recount here. We have a total of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 countries hard. I believe that's all of them, yeah. And then we have a total of 1, 2 countries soft. So 6 minus 2 is 4. That means we stay at the hard 3. I'd like to... I wish there was a way to sort of make a note for what the country of hard is. Maybe you could do the notes. It'd be too much effort. Okay, so that's the end of that. We played the event card. Now we need to use the 3 ops. So our 3 ops is going to be a War of Ideas in... Let's go ahead and do Pakistan, because that might... No, let's not do Pakistan. I'm thinking about how the jihadists will spend their ops, and I don't want them to spend a 3 op doing 1 single jihad and then having 2 remaining to radicalize. That would be really, really bad. So let's go ahead and do Saudi Arabia. So we're going to roll a die, and we get a 2. Let's see here. 2 plus 2 is 4, and then plus 1 more for having an adjacent good country brings it up to 5, and that is enough for success. So you can see here, even if you roll really, really badly as the U.S., if you have enough positive DRMs in your favor with that War of Ideas roll, you can actually mitigate getting like 1s or 2s. I mean, if all you do is roll 1s, you'll never get anywhere, but you can see here I succeeded on anything but a 1. And even in this case, a 1 would just get an aid there, making future rolls easier. So not too shabby, not too shabby. All right, next up is the Jihadists. So we had our 2 cards. And now it's back to them. And their first card is going to be Predator. Remove a cell from a Muslim country. There are cells in Muslim countries, so, I mean, this can happen anyway. So they're going to plot with this card. It's going to be 2 ops used for plotting. And once again, we will consult our handy-dandy plot chart. Plot flow chart, I mean. So not in the U.S., prestige low. No, it's very high. I will say if no. In countries with troops, nope, we took care of that cell there. GWAP penalty greater than 0. Yes, they're going to plot in countries with at hard. So once again, we have 4 options here. We will roll a die to figure out where the plots are going to happen. Again, it's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4. So our first plot would be in India, and then our next plot will be in Benelux. So we have an India and Benelux. Again, I'll have roll 2 die. The first one will be for Benelux, the second one for India, and no plots are placed because they did not get a 1 on either one. Okay, great. So that is the first card. Second card is going to be Hizb ut-Tahrir, ostensibly nonviolent Islamism. Okay, so this is one of the unusual cases where events can occur, neutral events occur even if it hurts the jihadist player because of just how the flowchart works. Again, just following along, you can see that because this is a playable non-US event, it will be played for the event. And in this particular case, we can see here, if troops in overstretch, if they were at this, if we had spent so many troops that we were in overstretch, the jihadists would gain 2 funding. But because we're in low intensity, they would instead lose 2 funding. So even though the jihadists are playing this card, they will lose 2 funding. There could be an argument to be made where if you played on a higher difficulty level, you might elect to ignore events that benefit the US, like any events that the jihadists play. But in this case, I'm sort of following everything to the letter. And yeah, so that happens. This is an unassociated event, so the event happens, and then we do a 1-op with the card itself. And just to keep track of things, this is the second card. The first card I believe we played was Predator for the plotting. Okay, so we have 1-op, and we ask ourselves the 3 questions following an event. Is a major jihad possible? No. Is because they need 5 more cells than troops in any country. Is the jihad possible fair or good? No, because all the cells are in poor countries. And then we finally ask, are there cells available? Well, see, there is a cell on the funding track, but their funding is at moderate. So the answer to that question is no, there are no cells available, in which case we do travel. Okay, so we have a total of 1-op for travel, and we will consult our handy-dandy guide for travel at the bottom of the player aid and say, okay, where are the cells going to? Well, we only have 1-op, and typically the way travel works when you do a travel operation is for each of the boxes under the 2 part of travel, you only move a maximum of 1 cell for each. So in the first box, you'd only move 1 cell following those rules. In the second box, if you had another op, you would follow those rules with only 1 cell, and so on and so forth. In this case, we see non-Islamic rule country with besieged regime, then regime change and aid. And that is possible because there are 2 countries on the board with besieged regime, that is Somalia and Yemen. So they will attempt to move there. Now, we have 2 choices, so we consult the priorities as to which one it will be. And we see that the priorities are Pakistan and then the highest resource. So neither of these are Pakistan, so that doesn't get priority. And they both have a resource of 1, so they're both, again, at the same priority. The conclusion is therefore that you roll randomly for which one they go to. So quickly, a 1 to 3 will be for Somalia, and a 4 to 6 will be for Yemen. So we rolled the 2, that means they're going to go Somalia. That's the better of the 2 because that means they get a cell there and they're getting closer to performing a major jihad. Okay, so we know where they're going to. Now, where are they coming from? Islamist rule with cells greater than ops, that's pretty simple. That means a cell is going to fly from Afghanistan to Somalia. Now, note this is a travel operation as opposed to a radicalization travel. Radicalization is an automatic success, but when you do a travel operation, you have to do as what I like to call getting past airport security. So in this case here, we have a self-line from Afghanistan to Somalia. They have to get past Somalian security, and they basically need to roll the die and get less than the governance of the country. So we'll just do that right now. And they get a 5. That's unfortunate. That's higher than a 3, so they fail. The cell gets caught and is sent off to the funding track. Control F. Yeah, there we go. Okay, so that was their second card. Pretty good play for us. That means if funding stays the same, it will drop down to tight, which means they only draw 7 cards. Unfortunately, I think with the cards in my hand, they are quite likely to be able to get back up to full. Okay, what do we do now? Well, we can play some damage control with the martyrdom operation. But I do want to get rid of HEU because that could get them a WMD if they have cells in Central Asia and Russia, and I would like to get them out of the way. Yeah, so I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and play HEU for 2 ops, and the 2 ops is going to be used for a war of ideas in Saudi Arabia, the final push to good governance. I'm just going to roll a die and we'll take care of the modifiers after the roll. Okay, so we got a 3. So we'll do the math here. So we have a 3, then we have a +2 from high prestige, that's a total of 5, -1 for the final push from fair to good, so it comes back down to a 4, and then another +1 for being next to a good country. So Saudi Arabia has improved to good governance. Huzzah! We are up to 6 resources, 3 from Saudi and 3 from the Gulf states. Okay, that was our first card. So our second card is going to be... All right. Let's play King Abdullah. Okay, so I'm going to play King Abdullah for the event. So the event is set Jordan to fair ally. So this is like the Hashemite kingdom coming into power. So we improve its governance, make it an ally, and then the next thing is to give the US 1 prestige and to ding the jihadists a single funding. This event was played. King Abdullah is a one-time deal. For some reason, it doesn't say the 3 spots, so I'm just going to have to leave that there. And this guy is discarded to out of play. Okay, so that was both of my cards, and that is the end of that. There are no plots to resolve, so it is back to the jihadists with their 2 cards. Ooh, the door of Ittihad was closed. Play of a country tested or improved to fair or good this or last action phase. That is indeed the case. Saudi Arabia went from good to fair. But at the same time, Jordan... Hang on a sec. Set Jordan... No, it didn't necessarily improve. It was set to. Oh, it wasn't really tested, though. I guess you would technically have to test the country first and then see if it improved. But either way, when you have to refer to these events that worsen governance, you actually consult the minor jihad portion of the player aid. And when you look at the bottom, you can see you first do any shifts that are among good, then among fair, and then finally among poor if it changes alignment. But it doesn't in this case. So this is the playable event. It'll happen. The unfortunate consequence is that Saudi Arabia decides, you know what, good governance isn't for us. We're going to go back to fair. So a little unfortunate setback there. Okay, next up is the second card, which is going to be Muqtada al-Sadr. This is only playable if there are troops in Iraq. So this is a non-playable US event. Therefore, we follow the chart appropriately and we ask the big 3 questions. So this card's going to be discarded. We have 1 op. Is a major jihad possible? No. Is a jihad possible in fair or good? No. And finally, are there cells available to recruit? Nope. They're at tight, so they have to travel instead. Okay, so I'm pretty sure nothing's changed among this. I think the travel is still going to occur to Somalia, and the travel will occur from Afghanistan, if I am reading this chart correctly. And I think I am. Okay, so we're going to once again roll a die to see if he gets there. And he gets a 5, which means he gets sent to the funding track. So this is great. We're sort of keeping the cells out, and any cells that are returned cannot be recruited again, so This is good. The jihadist player is being forced to travel cells. Okay, that was their. I think that was both of their cards. Yeah. So that is the end of that. That is up to us now. Okay, so I think this is going to be a turn where I do some damage control, and it's going to be quite simple. I'm going to play Martyrdom Operation for the 3 ops, and this is going to be a card that will allow the jihadist player to place plots. Now, where they place the plots, we'll have to consult the plot flowchart. So, bear with me once again as I go through this. As much as possible, U.S. No. Is the prestige low? No. In countries with true, Abu Sayyaf, no. Countries with troops, none. GR penalty 0. Then in countries with the U.S. is postured. Okay, so we'll go ahead. There's again 4 countries, so we'll roll a 4-sided die. 1, 2, 3, 4, and we come up with Benelux. Okay, so this cell is going to go bye-bye, and he will replace himself with 2 plots. Now, if you remember, I had a 3 ops card by playing the martyrdom operation, so I will use one of the 3 ops to alert one of these plots. So we'll reveal this plot and say, back to the plot track you go. Then, for my second card, I will play Hijab, the 3-op card, to alert the other plot. And so you can see I spent the entirety of my turn dealing with 1 bad card, but that basically leaves their funding at tight, which is good. Okay, next up is the jihadist with their last 2 cards of the round. Okay, Adam Radhain. Play a first card of jihadist action phase and a cell is available. Okay. Let me think about this. Is a cell considered available? I might have to consult my handy dandy chart here. Abu Ghraib. Nope, that's not it. Okay, it doesn't have that on there. A cell is available. Okay. I'm pretty sure cells are not available because they don't have the funding access to it. I can say this because there's another card called Madrasas that actually allows the player to, I think, ignore funding for recruiting purposes, and this doesn't say that there. So this is considered a non-playable event, which means we will be using a 1-op. So once again, we consult the 3 big questions. Is a major jihad possible? No. Is the jihad possible in good or fair? No. So we will be doing some traveling because there are no cells available, and I believe it's the exact same thing. We're going to travel from Afghanistan to Somalia. It's Afghanistan again because there are more cells than ops. There was a 1-op card. There are 2 cells there. So, oh, you know what? I think I may have made a mistake. I actually have to choose between Yemen and Somalia. I haven't been doing that quite right. So, thankfully, the last time we did it, it didn't work out because the cell wasn't placed. But we should roll to see whether it gets through Yemen or Somalia. Okay, so we'll 1 to 3 for Somalia, 4 to 6 for Yemen. So he's going to go to Yemen this time. And will he make it there? He does. Okay, so he will travel to Yemen. Okay, that is the end of that card. And the next card is going to be Sharia. Okay, so this is a playable use event because this guy would remove a besieged regime marker. So there is going to be some plotting happening with this card. And we have 2 ops to plot with. If you remember from the martyrdom operation, we will basically come to the same conclusion of plotting in countries that are hard. So there's going to be plots happening potentially in Eastern Europe, Israel, or India. So we only have 3 options. I'm going to make things a bit easier. On a 1 to 2, we'll plot in Eastern Europe. In a 4 to 6, it'll be Israel. And in a 5 to 6, it'll be India. We're going to do it twice. We're going to sort of roll 2 die and see what happens. Okay, so we got a 4 and a 1 that corresponds to Israel and Eastern Europe. So we're going to make these 2 active, and we're going to roll 2 die, and I'm going to have Eastern Europe be the first die, and Israel be the second die. They don't get a 1, so no plots are placed. Huzzah. Much happiness. The jihadist player is done, and it's back to us. We have a bunch of cards we can play, and no jihadist interrupting us. So this is great. We're going to go ahead and play Safer Now for a 3 ops. And we're going to go ahead and perform a war of ideas in Pakistan. We'd like to get that to... You know what? Hang on. Let me think about this carefully. So, Wahhabism would add funding equal to to Saudi Arabia's governance, which would be 2 right now. But if we can get that to 1, that would be really good because we can then safely play this card and the funding would increase by 1, but it would then drop back by 1. So that would make this card playable, and having 3 ops would be pretty useful in this case. So I'm going to go ahead and do the slightly riskier play of playing this card first to do a War of Ideas in Saudi Arabia. And we'll just roll the die and see what happens. We get a 6. You can do all the modifiers you want, but basically this is at least a 6. So, and that will improve governance to 1. We have no negative modifiers except for the final push one, so that's something we can easily do. Okay, this makes Wahhabism playable. And I'm actually going to play that for my second card. So we'll give the jihadists the funding. And we will perform a War of Ideas in Pakistan. And we get a 6. Ooh, on a roll. Okay. And you know what? That was so good. I am going to play this card. So that was our 2 cards. We go back to the jihadists, but they have no cards to play because their hand is empty. And we go back to us. And I know I'm saying us like we. I'm not saying it like a lazy way of saying the U.S. I'm really saying it like us. I'm investing you guys in the play of this game. So we're going to play this 3 ops card for War of Ideas. And this is where things get a bit dicey because we're kind of running out of things to influence. I think we'll do Pakistan again just to make that final push. And we get a 4. So just doing the math. 4 plus 2 is 6. Plus another 1 is 7, because it's adjacent to a good country. Minus 1 is 6. So that is enough. It is 5 or higher, so it improves to good governance. And we are up to 8 resources. Huzzah! We'll do the final math here in a second. Okay, so that was all of our cards, and we are done. We do some end of turn stuff. We'll do that real quickly. So jihadist funding goes down by 1. My prestige goes up. Actually, I think it goes down by 1 first because there's an Islamist rule country, but then it goes back up by 1 because we are agreeing with the world completely on how to handle the war on terror. There are no lapsing events removed, and we will deal new cards. We'll deal the new cards right now, and this is wonderful because we will draw 9 glorious cards while the jihadists will only draw 7 cards. Okay, and so we'll basically have an end of the round. Towards the end of this next turn, we'll basically have, kind of like what we had here, a nice open hand of cards with no chance of retaliation from the other player. Okay, so let's do some quick math here. I'm pretty sure the GWAT stuff is correct. Prestige is the way it is. So the number of Islamist countries is 1. They have 1 resource. The number of poor countries is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So they're at the 7. And then the number of good resources at 8. That's 3 for Saudi Arabia, 3 for the Gulf states, and 2 for Pakistan. And then the number of fair and good countries is 5. Jordan, Egypt, and then the 3 we just mentioned there. Okay, so we are quite close to winning. We are 4 resources away from getting that happening. It seems like Indonesia and Jordan would be all we need to make the final push. Alternatively, if we draw oil price spike, that would bring us to victory too. Okay. So let's do a quick recap of what happened here. We saw another wave of good governance in the Arabian Peninsula as well as in Saudi Arabia. We saw the Islamists attempt to plot in hard countries to retaliate against the world, going harshly after them. Consequently, their funding dropped to tight, which means they only drew 7 cards. I think that was the... Yeah, they actually played an event that messed up their funding, which is, again, something I have a bit of an umbrage with the bot for, but so be it. And then we saw some attempts to move cells to Yemen or Somalia, which was a 50% chance of moving them there, but they did not succeed. Okay, so this will be the end of turn 3. Thank you all for watching. This is Let's Play of Labyrinth, A War on Terror. The War on Terror, not a War on Terror, like there are multiple wars on terrors apparently. I'll be right back for turn 4 of this game. Stick with me and hope you all have a nice day.